My name is Sierra Langford. I'm 33 years old. For the past 6 years, I've quietly built a healthcare tech company from scratch, without any support or praise from my family. Tonight, I sat at my brother Camden's engagement dinner. It was another fancy event to show off his success. In our family, being impressive is normal. Camden is a doctor. Both of our parents went to Ivy League schools. And me? I was the one they didn't talk about much, the one they politely ignored. Until tonight. Camden's fiancée, Harper, looked across the table and said, "Wait, Langford. Are you Sierra Langford? Are you the founder of Medieval?" The whole room went silent. People froze mid-bite. My mom blinked. My dad stared like he'd never really seen me before. I just smiled. That moment wasn't what I was chasing, but it changed everything. In our home, success wasn't optional. It was the rule. My dad, Dr. Graham Langford, is a top heart surgeon. My mom, Eleanor, is a tough lawyer. And Camden, he was the perfect son who followed all the rules. At dinner, it wasn't really about talking. It was about showing off. Camden would talk about his medical wins. My parents would cheer him on. Then they'd glance at me and ask, "And you, Sierra?" Once I said, "I taught myself Python this week." My heart was pounding. "That's cute," my mom replied without even looking up. "But you should stick to pre-law. It's more practical." To them, practical meant safe. To me, it felt like a cage. They wanted me to follow their path. No space for passion, just plans. When I was 16, I built a simple hospital scheduling app that helped at a school fundraiser. The coordinator praised me to my parents. My mom forced a smile and said, "Yes, but we hope she picks something stable like law." As if anything outside their plan was weak. I once slipped a printout of my code under my dad's newspaper at breakfast, hoping he'd notice. He didn't. He just pushed it aside. That hurt more than if he'd said something mean. When Camden got into med school, they threw a huge party. That same week, I made it to the state tech finals. My mom said, "Maybe next time." We've already planned Camden's celebration. I went alone. I won first place. When I came home with the trophy, no one asked. They were too busy cheering for Camden getting into Johns Hopkins. I hid my trophy in my closet, a reminder of who I was becoming, even if no one else noticed. That night, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't chase their attention. I'd grow past their approval quietly, and one day, build something so big it couldn't be ignored. College gave me my first real breath of fresh air. I picked a small, tough tech school far from Boston, where no one knew my family. I wasn't Camden's sister there. I was just Sierra, the girl who understood code like others understood writing. In my second year, I met Maya Sterling. She was smart, curious, and just as tired of following other people's paths. We stayed up all night working on code, not for grades, but because we believed in it. We clicked instantly. No need to explain why we cared, we just did. Our startup idea came from a napkin sketch, a better way to fix the poor communication in healthcare. Maya lost her uncle due to a medication mistake. I saw my grandma get misdiagnosed 3 times. We wanted to fix a piece of the system. While others got internships, we built our prototype in her garage, living on takeout and borrowed Wi-Fi. Her parents supported us completely. They brought snacks, cheered us on, and even helped with paperwork. My parents? They still thought I did random IT work. I let them believe that. It was easier than getting another speech about real jobs. Whenever I tried to explain what we were doing, they'd tune out. By senior year, we won a big entrepreneurship contest. The prize money helped us launch our company. A kind professor introduced us to Dr. Simone Kwan, a hospital leader who saw what we saw, real potential. That first contract changed everything. We moved into a small apartment in Chicago's South Loop and worked 18 hours a day. One week we couldn't pay rent, so we offered to build our landlord's website in exchange for more time. He agreed. Little by little, Mediva grew. We talked to investors and hired Tyler, a smart developer who left MIT. We got a few healthcare clients. Each success was quiet, just between us. But with every win, I couldn't believe we were really doing it. Building something important. I never told my family about any of it. Not when we reached 100,000 users or raised $3 million. They never asked. Camden was now a chief resident doctor. My parents' Christmas letters still said I was between jobs or working in tech. I let them think that. It wasn't to be mean, it was to protect myself. I didn't want them involved in something they ignored for years. But success has a way of being noticed. By the time I turned 30, MedAva was worth over $80 million. Our software was in more than 120 hospitals. We had a full team, HR, and clients waiting. Maya and I said no to 3 buyout offers. We weren't finished. Then one day, I got an email from Harper Carroll. She worked in strategic acquisitions at Horizon Health Tech and wanted to meet about a possible partnership. I read the email 3 times, then Googled her. She was Camden's fiancée. I didn't tell anyone. Not Maya, not my therapist. For a whole week, I just sat with the fact that the woman my brother was going to marry was trying to buy my company. Harper didn't know yet. I kept my profile low. No photos, no press. Just my first name in tech circles. I had become a kind of ghost founder, building MedAva without fame. But if Harper kept looking, she would find me. And with the engagement dinner coming, it was only a matter of time. That week, my mom called 3 times. Make sure you dress well. Harper's family is impressive. We want to look good. Translation: don't embarrass us with your usual boring clothes. I told her I'd find something nice. I picked a simple black dress, elegant and strong. Not to prove anything, just to feel confident. I didn't need armor. I was the armor. The dinner was at a fancy restaurant called Blue Bridge, overlooking the river in downtown Chicago. I arrived right on time. Not early, not late. Camden greeted me warmly. "Liv, glad you're here." He introduced me to Harper. For a moment, I wondered if she recognized me. She didn't. Harper was polished and friendly. Exactly the kind of woman my mom wanted me to befriend. I shook her hand and congratulated her. She smiled, unaware. The dinner started with champagne and speeches. My dad proudly talked about Camden's latest medical paper. My mom got emotional remembering his first science fair prize. No one mentioned me. I sat next to a cousin who asked if I was still between jobs. "I work in healthcare tech," I said. "Oh, like an app?" she asked with a teasing look. "Something like that." Between courses, my uncle leaned over. "Camden said you might get an entry-level job at Apple. Solid start." I just smiled politely. "That won't be necessary." From across the table, I saw Harper really looking at me. Like she was trying to remember where she'd seen me before. Her eyebrows pulled together. Her head tilted. "Sierra Langford," she said slowly. "Wait. Your last name is Langford?" Camden laughed. "Of course. She's my sister." Harper gently set down her fork. "You're Sierra Langford. From MedAva." The room went quiet. Even the servers seemed to freeze. "I am," I said calmly. "You're the founder of MedAva?" My mom looked like she bit into something sour. My dad stopped mid-sip. Harper turned to Camden, shocked. "You didn't tell me your sister started MedAva, the company we've been trying to buy." Camden blinked in confusion. "What? Sierra?" "No, you've got it wrong. She works in tech support." Harper didn't look away from me. "No. Your sister is the CEO of one of the most important healthcare communication platforms out there. We've been negotiating with her company for 6 weeks, valued at over $200 million. Silence. Everyone at the table slowly turned to stare at me. My mom clutched her necklace. My dad looked suddenly much older. Camden just stared. "Is that true?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I answered. "We started MedAva in a garage. Now we work with over 300 hospitals nationwide." No one said a word. Even Harper just stared at me, half shocked, half impressed. The rest of dinner was a blur. Family members who never cared much before now leaned in, asking me for tech advice or investment tips. My mom kept saying she always saw potential in me. My dad claimed he had told his colleagues about my company long ago. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. Camden barely spoke. He just sat there stunned. At one point, he reached for his wine and missed the glass completely, leaving his hand resting on the tablecloth like he forgot what he was doing. After dessert, Harper found me by the window. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to make that so public." I shook my head. "It was bound to happen eventually. For what it's worth," she added, "your platform is amazing. It's saving lives. And now I understand why your team guards it so closely. You created something real." I looked at her, this woman who might be my future sister-in-law, who already knew more about my work than my parents ever had. "Thank you," I said. And I meant it. That night, I walked to my car without looking back. For years, I had dreamed of the day they'd finally see me. Now they had. And I realized, it didn't change anything. I had already become who I was meant to be, long before they noticed. The next morning, my phone blew up with messages. First, my mom. "We need to talk. Brunch tomorrow at the Drake. 11 a.m. Then my dad. "Proud of you. Let's catch up." Camden's message came later. "Just, why didn't you tell me?" I stared at his the longest. I hadn't told them because I didn't need their approval anymore, and I didn't know what would hurt more, being ignored or being acknowledged only after I made it. Still, I agreed to brunch. Some things needed to be said. They were already seated when I got to the Drake Hotel, both dressed up, like they were meeting a client. My mom wore pearls. My dad wore his nicest blazer. Like now that I was successful, I deserved their respect. "Sierra," my dad said, giving me a stiff hug. "You look good." My mom got straight to the point. "I've been reading everything. Your awards, funding, the growth. It's all incredible." She paused. "But why didn't you tell us?" I placed the napkin in my lap. "Because the last time I tried, you told me to apply for a phone support job." "That's not fair," my dad jumped in. "We were trying to help." "No," I said calmly, looking him in the eye. "You were trying to fix something that wasn't broken." My mom frowned. "We just didn't understand. Tech felt risky. And medicine doesn't? Law doesn't." "That's different. Those are structured," she said, unsure. "I know," I said. "And that's what scared you. I chose something you couldn't control." My dad sighed. "But you're obviously brilliant." "We always knew that." "No," I corrected. "You knew what you wanted me to be." "That's not the same." The waiter came with coffee, giving us a break from the tension. I stirred my cup slowly, keeping my voice steady. "I spent years building something I cared about. Every time I tried to tell you, it felt like shouting into a storm. So I stopped trying." "We thought you were lost," my mom whispered. "I wasn't lost. I just wasn't yours to direct anymore." The silence that followed was fragile, but it held. "We love you," my mom said softly. "I know," I said. "But love without respect doesn't feel like love." For the first time, my dad looked unsure, like a man realizing he might have been wrong all along. The rest of brunch felt different. There was less showing off, more quiet moments, fewer assumptions. This time, my parents asked real questions about Maya, our first tiny office, and how we got our first hospital clients. My mom even said she tried reading a blog about startups but got lost in all the confusing terms. It was the most open I'd seen her in a long time. "We never meant to make you feel small," my dad said toward the end. "I know you didn't mean to," I replied. "But you still did. And I've had to work through that." He nodded slowly. "I'm glad you worked through it, even if we weren't part of it." When we left the restaurant, there were no hugs or emotional speeches. Just a plan to have dinner again next week. It was a beginning. A few nights later, Camden came by my apartment with a bottle of wine and a bakery box. "I tried baking," he said with a guilty smile. "It didn't go well. So I bought something instead." I smiled. "Sounds about right." We sat on the floor like we did as kids, backs against the couch, the Chicago skyline glowing outside my window. "I need to say something," he said. "I'm sorry." I looked over, surprised. "I believed what Mom and Dad believed, that you were lost, that you missed your chance." He shook his head. "But you weren't lost. You were building something they didn't get. And I never asked. That's my fault." "You weren't the only one," I said. "But you're the one sitting here now." He raised his glass. "To the black sheep." I clinked mine to his. to the sheep who built an empire. We laughed. It wasn't loud, but it felt big. That moment meant more to me than any article or business deal, because Camden didn't just say he was proud. He saw me. 6 months later, everything had changed, but not how I once imagined. Yes, the Horizon deal went through. Ava joined one of the biggest healthcare tech groups in the world. Maya became the head of global strategy. I took a leadership role, helping Horizon grow our platform worldwide. Now, my office had glass walls and looked out over the Chicago River. A view that once felt like a dream. But the biggest change wasn't the view. It was quieter. It was my mom texting me a screenshot of an article about women in tech and asking, "Have you met her? She reminds me of you." It was my dad watching a full demo of our product. Not because he understood it all, but because he knew it mattered to me. It was Camden casually mentioning he used one of my quotes during a medical presentation. And it was me, no longer hiding, hosting monthly dinners to mentor young women in STEM, reminding them their work matters, even when no one claps. One day, a high school student I mentor asked me, "Do you wish your family had believed in you sooner?" I thought for a second. "Sometimes," I said. "It would have made things easier. But maybe it also would have made me weaker." She looked confused, so I explained. There's strength in building alone. It teaches you to believe in yourself before anyone else does. And once you do that, no one can take it away. I still think about that a lot, because that was the truth I was chasing the whole time. Being seen feels good, but it fades. Believing in yourself? That lasts. That night, I stood by my office window, watching the city lights glow below, and I smiled. Not because they finally saw me, but because I realized I never needed them to. Real success isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right, and living like you mean it.